Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Tasliman kathiran kathira. Famma badu, my brothers and sisters, in our class on living Islam, one of the most fundamental things that the mushrikeen of Makkah, the polytheist Arabs of Makkah, and also others of that time, pre-Islam, which they found the most difficult to accept, and many never accepted it and died without acceptance. And that was that their actions in this life have a dual effect. One is the action and its immediate effect, which you can see. And the second is the effect of the action on conditions in this life, as well as the record of that action and the effect of that action in the life to come, in the hereafter. For example, goodness, kindness, compassion has an immediate effect which you can see, which is that people will be happy with you, you will be happy with yourself more than anything else, and you will spread goodness around you. And this has therefore a general effect on society. So one is effect on myself, I am happy, whoever I am kind to is happy, and there is a general effect of that in society. And then this has a positive effect in my akhirah. Similarly, the opposite of that, immorality. And it's paradoxical, because immorality, just think about that. Why are people immoral? Why are people promiscuous? Why are people fornicating and committing adultery and so on and so forth? Because it gives them pleasure. If it did not give them pleasure, if there was no benefit from it, then it would stop. Right? People, for example, don't cause themselves consciously, they don't cause themselves pain. And this has nothing to do with virtue and vice. It's just human tendency. We seek pleasure and we run away from pain. So if something gave us immediate pain, we would not do it. What are sins? Sins are things which give us pleasure, which appear to be beneficial in the short term. But Islam is telling us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that thing which is giving you immediate pleasure, which you like to do, which seems to be beneficial, actually has a cumulative negative effect. Right? It's like the issue of deferred gratification, where you are working for something because your eye is on the goal. You're focused on the goal. So you're working and you are studying for maybe 12 years or so in order to get a medical degree. You are studying for 4 years in order to get a PhD, to become, to have a PhD in whatever subject you are studying, and so on and so forth. You go to the gym, you pump iron, you feel your whole body pains and so on and so forth. But you still do that because of the long-term effect of that, and because your eye is on the goal, you're focused on the goal, which is to have a body which is strong. Actions have two sides to that. Now this is what people had a lot of difficulty believing, which is that my actions are not only what happens to me here and now, it's also what happens to me there and then, as well as between the two of them, the actions have a cumulative effect on society itself. So the effect on me as an individual and the effect on society itself. These are two things in this life, and then there is the effect of the action in the akhirah. Now this is what people had a lot of difficulty in believing. But when we know Islam and we understand the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us this very, very clearly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Rum, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس لِيُذِيقَهُمْ بَعْدَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the trials and tribulations, the fitna, the fasad, the difficulties, all the pain and suffering that you're seeing in the world, which is on the land and on the sea, is the result of the actions that come from the hands of mankind. Right? It's the result of the actions that come from the hands of mankind. To give you some very modern examples, global warming. Who is the cause behind global warming? Did it happen just like that? Is it an act of God? No. It is the actions of human beings. It is how we choose to live our lives. It's the choices we make. We choose to deliberately, knowingly, we choose to use fossil fuels. We choose to we choose not to reduce our carbon footprint. We choose to use things which have CFCs. We choose to use very polluting ways of power generation. We choose to live lives which are extremely heavy on the use of, for example, on the use of petrol, on the use of fossil fuels and oil. That is why we are creating more and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which the earth now is unable to deal with, and therefore we are literally, it's like covering ourselves with a very thick quilt on a very, very hot day, and then adding on more and more and more quilts to that. The result will be what? Result will be you will die of suffocation. Under those quilts you will be buried and you will stop breathing. And that is what is happening to the earth. So now if you say, well, why is global warming happening? Tell me why. Because of you, because of me. Right? Similarly, if you take for example, the mass extinction of different species. Why is it happening? Because of human greed. Because of human greed. Because we want to make money, single point of focus, which is does it make profit? Why do wars happen? We are talking about, as I'm talking to you today, there is this whole thing is going on in Afghanistan. Why do wars happen? Because wars make profit, right? All the rest of the stuff which you are, I don't even, that's why I don't watch television. I'm not interested in all these, talking heads. The bottom line is, wars make profit. How can you stop wars from happening? Take away that profit. The day intelligent and sensible and highly, in many ways, good people, when they understand this, that you cannot have an economy which is based on the manufacture and sale of weapons of mass destruction and expect wars to stop. No. If you are going to be manufacturing and selling weapons of mass destruction, then you need mass destruction. You need to sell the weapons. Who will buy them? People who want to have wars, people who would do wars. Nobody else, right? Do you think people who want to build hospitals will buy weapons? Do you think people who want to build schools will buy weapons? Do you think people who want to alleviate and eliminate poverty and give people food and clean drinking water and proper sanitary facilities, toilets, do you think those people will buy weapons? So you decide, which one do you want? Do you want schooling? Do you want hospitals? Do you want good infrastructure? Do you want geriatric care? Do you want infant care? Or do you want a war? You can't have both. You cannot have both. As simple as that. So all the talking faces in the world, who won this war? Who lost that war? Did America win the war? Did the Afghans win the war? I'll tell you who won the war. The capitalism won the war. Nobody else. Capitalism won the war. And capitalism will continue to win wars. And then we talk in terms of, what you see the amount of suffering for the Afghan people. Who do you think cares? Who do you think cares? The key thing to understand is, people sometimes ask this question, if there is a God, why is this happening? God didn't drop bombs in Afghanistan. God is not killing people somewhere. You are doing it. I am doing it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu taught us and showed us the right way of doing things, which is what? Deal with compassion, deal with kindness. Stop fighting each other. Cooperate with each other. Develop each other. Whoever is in difficulty, develop them. What do you think will happen? The same Afghanistan, if 20 years ago or 30 years ago, if these world powers, America, Russia and so on, Britain, Germany, France, everybody is there. If instead of focusing on weapons of mass destruction and bombing the daylights out of something which had nothing in the first place, instead of that, if they had said, let us focus on creating great schools here, let us focus on building hospitals, let us focus on infrastructure, build beautiful roads and cities and so on and so forth, and what do you think would have happened? What do you think would have happened? Those Afghans would have been worshipping you. They would have kept you on their heads. And a country would have developed. You would have had far more well-being everywhere. The international image of all these states and nations would have been huge. And it would have cost a fraction of what the war cost. But then you have to understand, the war didn't cost. The war made profit for the people who are in the business of manufacturing weapons of mass destruction. So when people say, oh, $2 trillion down the drain, no. Not down the drain. Those $2 trillion fueled economies. Those $2 trillion gave jobs to people. Now you might say, well, is that the job I want? Do I want to live my life creating death for others? Yeah, that's a different question. But you got a job. Many people got jobs. The whole economy was boosted. So how is it down the drain? It's not down the drain. Oh, but what about the Afghans? Well, what about them? We're talking about war, right? Somebody dies. This is our philosophy. No matter how bad it sounds, this is our philosophy. Global philosophy today is predicated on one word, one simple word. And that word is what? Profit. Who makes the profit? The one who invests the capital. So we are talking about capitalists. I'm not promoting socialism or communism. Please understand this. I'm just talking about predatory capitalism, where you're saying that the single-minded focus, the single purpose of all life, the single purpose of all activity, the single purpose of everything must be, does it make profit? As long as it makes money, we will allow it to happen. That's why we allow cigarettes to happen. That's why we allow alcohol to happen. That's why now marijuana has been made recreational use of marijuana. I'm not talking about marijuana as a medicine. Recreational use of marijuana. Right? That is why. All of these are legal because they make money. So if you are going to have a society which is based on this one principle, which is, does it make money? This is the society that we are going to get. No point in blaming God, no point in blaming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no point in blaming anybody. Allah told us very clearly, all the misery that you are suffering is the result of your own actions. Change the actions, misery will go away. Change the actions and the misery will disappear. As simple as that. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned to us, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, he turned to us and said, O Muhajirin, there are 5 things with which you will be tested. And I seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lest you live to see them. There are 5 things with which you will be tested, and I seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lest you live to see them, in case you live to see them. 1. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the first one, immorality never appears among a people to such an extent that they commit it openly, but plagues and diseases that were never known among their predecessors will spread among them. Let me repeat. Immorality never appears among a people to such an extent that they commit it openly, but plagues and diseases that were never known among their predecessors, that were never known in the past, new plagues and new diseases will spread among those people. Rasulullah is saying, here is an action that you will do, and this action, though, as I told you, why do people do? Because it gives them pleasure. It makes them money. Pornography is a multi-billion-dollar global business. It is sold in many ways. One of them is freedom of expression. Is it beneficial? Is it harmful? Ask yourself. Similarly, all kinds of prostitution is a multi-billion-dollar business. Why does it happen? Because some people benefit. Some people benefit in terms of making money from it. Other people who use it, they find pleasure in it. But the litany of misery behind it, of human trafficking, of the exploitation of literally modern day slavery, and the biggest, women are not the exclusive victims of it, but they are by far the biggest victims of it. All the human rights people and all the women's rights people must think about this. Everyone gets very excited because some woman wants to wear a hijab. What about human trafficking? What about the flesh trade? So here Rasulullah is saying that immorality never appears among a people to such an extent that they commit it openly, but plagues and diseases that were never known in the past among their predecessors will appear and spread among them. Right? Think about in our own lifetime the new plagues and diseases which have appeared and which still have no cure. Number 2, he said, people do not cheat in weights and measures, but they will be stricken with famine, severe calamity, and the oppression of their rulers. People do not cheat in weights and measures, but, meaning, if they cheat in weights and measures, they will be stricken with famine, with severe calamity, and the oppression of their rulers. Now look at, we like to complain and we like to blame the rulers. And of course, if they are doing something wrong, then they are blameworthy. I am not letting them off the hook. But my point is, we need to look at ourselves and say, am I cheating? Who am I cheating? You might say, I'm not cheating anybody, but I'm fudging my taxes. How do you fudge taxes? Tell me. You say, oh, but you see, this government is a kafir government, this is a non-Muslim government. Sure. But you are a citizen of that country. You swore allegiance to them by accepting their citizenship, by accepting their passport. You are benefiting from that country, from all the civic facilities that you are living and enjoying. If you don't want to pay taxes, leave the country, go away somewhere else. But if you are going to stay in that country and you swore allegiance, and if you fudge your taxes, I'm not talking about tax breaks, legal ways of saving taxes. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fudging taxes. I'm talking about tax avoidance. I'm talking about doing things which are illegal. Finding all kinds of illegal ways of evading taxes. There is tax saving and there is tax evading. I'm talking about tax evading. Those who are evading taxes, whichever country, doesn't matter. For example, sometimes people say in India, well, what do we get from the tax? The government doesn't spend anything on us. The taxes are wasted. Maybe you're right. But That is a different issue. Correct that in parliament, in courts. But as long as you are a citizen of the country, whichever country it is, and it doesn't matter whether the country is a Muslim country, non-Muslim country, makes no difference. When we accepted the citizenship of a country, we swore allegiance to that country. We said that we are your citizens. You give us protection. You give us a passport. You give us the right to live in this country. You give us the right to own property. You give us the right to go to schools and to benefit from the general facilities of this country, for which we pay a tax. Whether the tax is high, low, that's a different issue. Deal with that in parliament. Deal with that through the courts. But as long as you are the citizens of the country, Islam dictates, I'm talking about the Islamic view on it. Islam dictates that you live up to the covenant that you made. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. Surah Al-Ma'idah, first ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "O you who believe, keep your covenants, keep your word. You gave your word, stick to the word. Don't change." Right? We fudge taxes. We deceive people. Weights and measures. Smallest, poorest of people and the wealthiest of people. I'm not saying everybody. General trend in society. Not only weights and measures. Lying. Today we have reached a stage where there is so much of fake news and there is so much of lies which are blatantly spoken by, within quotes, the highest, most powerful members of our society, so-called great leaders. From them down to the lowest, that the general trend in society is nobody trusts anybody else. Nobody trusts anybody else. For everything there is a counter theory. So what is Rasulullah saying? He's saying when you do this, when you deceive, when you cheat, and he said, he mentioned specifically weights and measures, but obviously applies to all kinds of cheating, famine will strike you. Severe calamity will strike you. And you will suffer from the oppression of your rulers. You are doing an action, and the action has a global effect. Third one, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, people will do not withhold the zakat of their wealth, but rain will be withheld from the sky. And were it not for the animals, rain would not fall on them at all. Climate change is not only because of the carbon footprint. Climate change is also the result of our actions. And one of those actions is withholding of zakat. Now you may say, what about the non-Muslims? Muslims are 20% of global population. Non-Muslims are 80% of global population. They don't pay zakat. They don't pay zakat at all. So why must everybody suffer? Why must we suffer because some of us, don't pay zakat? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is running this world, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the responsibility of doing something. If you leave it, then this punishment on you is more severe. The one who has denied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what his ending is going to be. He doesn't believe anyway. So if we are not bothered with that, we are looking at people who claim to believe and yet who cheat, yet who try to evade zakat. How insane is that? Just think about that. Here is something that you are doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you say you are Muslim and you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears all, sees all, knows all, and yet you think that you can run away and fool, na'udhu billah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by withholding zakat. Doesn't Allah know? Doesn't Allah know how much you have? Because He gave it to you in the first place. I know several ways in which people withhold zakat. I don't want to mention it here because I don't want to give anybody ideas. But I'm saying that no matter what you do, no matter how clever you think you are, the fact remains that Allah knows. So you're trying to deceive somebody who knows already, and you think you will get away with that? No, you will not. Not only will you not get away with that, but because of your action, everybody in the world will suffer. They will suffer from a lack of rain. Number 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, they do not break their covenant with Allah and His Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but Allah will enable their enemies to overpower them and take some of what is in their hands. La ilaha illallah. Breaking the covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and breaking the covenant with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where does it begin? It begins with committing shirk. Our first and foremost covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? As Muslims, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So the first place where we break the covenant is by committing shirk. All forms of shirk, all forms of bidat. Number 2, with leaving of salah. Because the manifestation of La ilaha illallah is salah. There is no one, I bear witness that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah. And so therefore when salah comes, the time for salah comes, I pray. If I say I bear witness there is nobody worthy of worship except Allah and then I don't pray, that means I'm lying. My tongue is lying. How do you bear witness? Shirk, salah, and then the rest of it. Zakat, Hajj, fasting in Ramadan, whatever be the reason. Think about this. The other day I was speaking to a friend of mine and he said to me that, he heard somebody making dua and saying, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was in Arafat, they were making dua and he said that somebody made this dua and said, and he told the people when he was making dua, he said, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled you to come here and to make Hajj, to perform Hajj and to make dua in Arafah, because there are people who had more wealth than you did but who did not come, who could not come. Right? And many of them never came and they died without making Hajj, even though Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the one who is capable of doing Hajj and does not do Hajj will be resurrected with the non-Muslims, with the Yahud and Nasara. And I was thinking to myself, I am from Hyderabad, I was thinking to myself that in 7 generations of Asif Jahi rulers, starting from Nizam al-Mulk, Asif Jah the first, to Mir Usman Ali Khan, Asif Jah the 7th, not a single Nizam made Hajj. None of them. And then, going backwards, from Babar, the Mughal emperor, all the way down to Shah Alam and Bahadur Shah Zafar, including Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. This is the first 6 who are called the Great Mughals. From the first of them to the last of them, not a single one of them made Hajj. And you might say, well, those days, no, people were going. People were going for Hajj. Hajj was there, Hajj was happening. But the fear was so much that if I leave my throne, somebody else will occupy it. Things differ. Somebody is worried about his throne, somebody is worried about his career, somebody is worried about his business, somebody is worried about something else. But the fact remains that you gave precedence to this dunya over the akhirah. You broke your covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I'm not sitting in judgment on anybody here. I'm not giving fatwa to say what will happen to this king or that king. I don't know, I don't care. I'm interested in myself and I'm interested in you telling you. If you break your covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah will enable their enemies to overpower them. They will lose. They will lose their freedom, they will lose their countries, they will lose their natural resources, they will lose their homes, they will lose their businesses, they will lose their lives. And this will happen because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed it to happen. Why? Because they break their covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shirk, leaving of salah, not paying zakat, not fasting in Ramadan, not doing hajj, even though you are capable of it. And this is, I am only looking at the arkan of deen, the pillars of Islam. What about lying and cheating? What about cruelty? What about oppression of others? Islam does not differentiate between non-Muslim and Muslim as far as oppression is concerned. A Muslim does not have the right to oppress a non-Muslim. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said when he was sending Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anhu to Yemen as a governor and as a da'i of Islam, he said, beware of the dua of the mazloom, of the one on whom zulm is being done. Beware of the supplication of the oppressed. Who would be the oppressed? Yemen was a non-Muslim country. He's sending him and saying, do not oppress anybody. He said, Allah listens, there is nothing between that person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if the person is not a Muslim, it doesn't matter. Even if the person calls on somebody else, it doesn't matter. The dua goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will answer him. In another place he said, you will be sleeping but he will be awake and he will be making dua against you and Allah will listen to his dua. Islam does not allow us to oppress non-Muslims. We came to help people, we came to give people, we didn't come to take from anybody. Breaking the covenant with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is what? Is to break his sunnah, is to go against his sunnah, is to do what he told us not to do. And what is the result? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who does that, who breaks the covenant with Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah will cause them to lose in this world. He will cause their enemies to overpower them and to take from them. In the last one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, unless their leaders rule according to the book of Allah and seek all good from that which Allah has revealed, Allah will cause them to fight one another. SubhanAllah, what a absolutely beautiful hadith, and how incredibly important this is in Ibn Majah, how incredibly important and how amazing is this. SubhanAllah. Brothers and sisters, please understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this beautiful deen in order for us to learn from it, to benefit. But like anything else, benefit happens only when we practice. Benefit does not happen if we talk about something alone, without practicing. So let us focus on our deeds. Now in that context, I want to is to truly emphasize this and say that we need to look at our deeds very minutely and see where can I correct whatever I am doing, so that what I do is in line with and is in keeping with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to do, and it's not against Him Jalla Jalaluhu. This is the basic fundamental principle of Islam, which is that my actions are not isolated. My actions have an effect. And that's the reason why it is so important to live thoughtfully, is to pick and choose every action. Now you might say the usual argument, well, I am only one person, what does it matter? The whole world is lying and cheating. The whole world is running on interest. So what if I take interest? Now, we talked about breaking the covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the biggest ways in which we break the covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dealing with interest. Deliberately, knowingly we deal with interest, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declared war on the one who deals with interest. Then how do you deal with interest? You have an excuse, everybody has an excuse. How do you have businesses in which haram is allowed? Oh, but if unless I sell alcohol in my hotel, unless I sell alcohol in my restaurant, people will not come. That is in your mind. That is false. Look at all the Udupi restaurants. Look at all the millions, it's $1 billion, billions of dollars worth of business in vegetarian food. All over India, all over the world. Idli, dosa, vada, all of these things have become household names. Right here where I am sitting, in Massachusetts, in a little town called West Springfield, there is a restaurant in which I can go and get beautiful dosa. Freshly made. Beautiful vadas. Right? No alcohol. Have you seen an Udupi restaurant selling alcohol? It's all here in the mind. In America they say, oh no, unless we sell pork, we cannot make business. Who told you that? I always tell people, if you are in a situation or if you are doing a business where truthfully, really, you cannot do that business without doing haram, leave the business. That is not the business for you. Your raziq is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the business. Leave the business. Allah will find another place, another way for you to earn the money. If that is true, in 99% of the cases, it is not true. This is what you have told yourself. This is what shaitan has convinced you and you have convinced yourself. It is possible to do business halal. We try to find loopholes. Oh, in my hotel I have a bar, but the bar, I don't own the bar. I have given that bar to somebody else. That guy runs the bar. He pays me rent. Maybe he doesn't even pay me rent. Even that rent I am not taking from him. So I feel very holy and pious. No. The premises you own. You are attracting people with that haram thing. It is not permissible. I don't care who permitted it for you. It is not permissible. Don't mix halal and haram. You will not drink a glass of water with one drop of urine in it. One drop of urine. You can't even smell it. You can't even see it unless you analyze it in a lab. You don't even know it's there. But if I give you a glass of water, maybe I'm even lying just to test you. I say, give you a glass of water and say, have this water. There is just one drop of urine in it. Will you drink it? Just the word. Just if I tell you there is a drop of urine, you will not drink it. You will throw the water in my face and say, how dare you give this to me? Yet, you will do business with interest-based loans, knowing full well that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declared war on you and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam declared war on you. On the day of judgment, you want to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as his enemy? Think about that. The money that you are making is your rizq. And your rizq out of that is not the whole money. It's not all the bank balance you have. No. It is what you eat, what you wear, and what you spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And talking about spending in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no zakat and there is no charity that is accepted from wealth which is haram. So please understand this. You may say, oh, but I'm giving crores of rupees, I'm giving millions of rupees or dollars in charity. But since your income is haram, that charity is trash. Not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu jameel wa yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful and He likes only beauty. Allah does not take haram from you. Allah is not in need. My brothers and sisters, please let's stop fooling ourselves. Let us do that which is right. Let us do that which is beneficial. Let us do that which helps us. People take loans to buy TV sets. La hawla la quwwata illa billah. Double whammy. First you take a loan which is haram, then you buy a TV set which is great fitna. I don't say it is haram, it's not haram, but the majority of stuff you watch on that TV is either, at best of it, it's a waste of time. Worst of it, it's haram. Those who actually have TVs and who are doing good work with them and watching educational stuff on them, all power to you, please go ahead. But other than that, you watch politics, you watch talk shows, and then you spend another 2 hours discussing whatever that talking face was saying. What benefit is that? And you say, no, it was not. Yeah, I know it's not haram. You're watching a football match, soccer match, basketball match, cricket match, whatever match, 2 hours, 3 hours gone, literally down the drain. Go play the game. Watching it on the TV, literally down the drain. Brothers and sisters, please, let's understand. Our actions benefit us or harm us in this life as well as the next. It's a two-way thing. It's like you're moving the mouse on the mouse pad, and the cursor is moving on the screen, and it is doing things in your computer. Same principle. Let's make sure that we watch our actions, that we ensure that, like they say, watch your thoughts because they become words. Watch your words because they become actions. Watch your actions because they become habits. Watch your habits because they become your character. Watch your character because that becomes your destiny. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu to help us to do that which is pleasing to Him, and to keep us in a state where He is pleased with us, and to take us in a state where He is pleased with us. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.